For me, this game is really about one team that's been incredibly consistent, rock solid, week in and week out, which is Wisconsin. And then the other team that's probably the more talented and has a better top end, but has been wildly inconsistent in Ohio State. Ohio State in the fourth quarter against Penn State was incredible. They've been incredible in some other performances this year, in particular like at Nebraska in a game that Gus and I called. But then they've also thrown out there those games like the second half against Oklahoma, the entire game against Iowa and a 31-point loss. So they've been wildly inconsistent. I will tell you the key for me is which Ohio State shows up. You can talk all you want about run game and turnovers and quarterback play and so on and so forth. But for me, it's about which Ohio State shows up, because if they play their best, they're likely the better team. But anything less than their best, and I would give the advantage to Wisconsin. And to me, that's where really the game lies.
Joe, when we talk about quarterback play, you with your quarterback background, JT Barrett, seeing him in the Michigan game, struggled through the game, being taken out of the game, had arthroscopic surgery on his knee on Sunday. Give me the level of expectations that you expect from JT Barrett, from what you're hearing, and or how much of a rope do you think Urban has before he goes to the redshirt freshman and Dwayne Haskins, an asset that most college coaches don't have?
Yeah, and this is one of those problems, if you will, that's not really a problem. It's actually a huge convenience for Urban Meyer, because right now I think JT is going to play. He's going to probably start in the game. And I will tell you, during the course of his career, and really even past that in Urban Meyer's career, in big games and in big situations, he loves having a running quarterback on the field. If you look back to that Michigan game, they got down 14 points. What'd they do? Immediately went to the quarterback run, and it started getting their offense going a little bit. They came back, they scored. Now, it was actually Haskins who goes into the ball game when they're down 6, and he leads them to 17 unanswered points, and their game plan was very different. And so, Chris, this is where it lies for me. I think both guys are going to have pieces of the game plan in there so that they can go with either guy depending on what Wisconsin is doing defensively. If Wisconsin is selling out to stop the quarterback run, in particular early against JT Barrett, they might have to go to Haskins, because remember, Haskins is much better throwing the football down the field and on the outside. We don't see that from JT Barrett quite often. We see the middle of the game, the middle of the field, trying to exploit the tight ends, trying to exploit some of the linebacker play of the opposition. Meanwhile, Haskins was out there. He's throwing the ball outside of the numbers and down the field. So they've got both styles if they want it, and it just depends on what Wisconsin's going to try to do, in particular early, to try to stop that quarterback run game.
Hey, Joel, speaking of Wisconsin, why does it feel like no one's really talking about them? Words used to describe this team like overlooked and disrespected. How good is this team?
Yeah. They're the most consistent team in America. Okay, they might not have the top end that a lot of the other teams do in the top end or top 10, but I will tell you that week in and week out, they play not only incredibly hard, but they're incredibly sound, and they're very good. The problem is that people just think that this is an Iowa from 2 years ago, and they just skated through a schedule undefeated, and they haven't really been tested. Well, the truth of the matter is they played Michigan, and they beat them up the week before Michigan played Ohio State. They've played Iowa the week after Ohio State lost to Iowa, and what did they do? They gave up 66 total yards to Iowa. This is a really good team, the number one defense in the country right now, with a great defensive coordinator in Jim Leonhard. I will tell you, they don't get a lot of love because nothing is sexy about their team. Their head coach isn't out there with great press conferences. They don't have a quarterback that's up for a national award. They've got a true freshman running back that no one really remembered from his recruiting rankings, because he was only a 3-star kid that came in there and just burst on the scene. That's Jonathan Taylor. So there's nothing really to glom onto if you're a national media source, except for consistency. And quite frankly, that doesn't generate clicks in today's modern world. So they've been passed up, but they better not be passed up much more, because this team is very good, like I said, very sound, and it wouldn't shock me at all if they won on Saturday night.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.